What is permit to work and what does permit to work contain? Permit to work is the written document used to control high-risk activities and authorize a person or a group to perform maintenance, inspection, or construction work. This is permit to work. That without that permit, you cannot go anywhere. Because when you are working in large plants where there's always electricity on, you cannot just switch off the electricity because you will deter lots of people from working. So you have to give them time. Okay, by so time to so time, we are going to be working here and we need to shut off the power. And when you are shutting off the power, you have to put your lockout tag out to ensure nobody is putting it on. All this will be included in the permit. So you see, what the permit to work will include are the permit number. That's number one. Because you have to be able to trace back your file in case of any problem. The date and time you issue that permit to work, it has to be done, including the hours as well. The estimated duration of the work. Okay, this work you are going to be doing, we can only allow you work for 5 hours here because it's an high-risk activity. Maybe you are working closer to a film or there's hot work going on or you are working in a confined space or you are working at height. We cannot allow you be here for 24 hours. You can only work for 5 hours. Anything you want to do, make sure you complete it within 5 hours or you have to come back and get another permit to work another 5 hours or the next day. Okay? The exact work location, where the location of the work is going to be. So if there's any emergency or you don't find this person, it will be easier to trace them or to look for them. A description of the work, the type of work they are going to be doing. Okay, you are going here, there's a pipe burst at so section at the back area and we need you to repair it. So repair work will be done at section ABC of 1992. Behind there is so. The anticipated hazard. Okay, during when they are working, what are the kind of hazards they can come with? Is it entanglement with moving parts? Is it electrocution? Is it slip, trip, and fall? You know your types of hazard, right? Risk and probable results that should the risk be realized. That if the wahala happen, like if the problem happen, what are going to be the results? The acute results if it's in chemical and chronic results, or the long or short time if it's an exposure to some sort of chemical or some kind of dust, and the precautions to be observed. Now, okay, if you put on your PPE, I know it's going to be hot inside, but after like 30 minutes of working, you take 10 minutes or 20 minutes break in the break area, you see? All these kind of things All these kind of things has to be put in place. Then what are the hazards in a confined space? What are the hazards in a confined space? Oxygen deficiency, enrichment of oxygen also, presence of presence of toxic or flammable gases, chemical hazard, fire hazard, trip hazard, fall hazard, electrocution, dust, sound, heat or cold, cutting between moving parts of equipment and government. You see, all these things are hazards in a confined space. So here, what are the duties of a confined space attendant? Anyone who's going to be in charge of a confined space, you have to be at alert. You don't sleep, you don't press your mobile phone. Because that is what most of us do when we are at the confined space. Okay? You have to be responsible for the safety of the entrance. People who enter the confined space, you are responsible for their safety. You should be present any time. You should patrol, go in, come out, go in, come out. Ask them, are you okay? When you see they are feeling a little bit bored, you try to cheer them up. That okay, if you feel you are tired, you can come with me. You can go and rest for 30 minutes or 20 minutes. And you have to keep the log sheet. If they are going for break, when they are inside, how many people is inside? When did one person go out? When did one person come in? Who went there? Who's the supervisor? And so on and so forth. Monitor the condition in the working space. You have your meter that shows the oxygen level or the temperature of the confined space. If you feel it's not something somebody can survive in for a long period of time, kindly tell everybody to go out. If they are very angry, or they are telling you, you know how people do, at least, so we have only, just give us 10 minutes, let's just use 10 minutes. Within 1 minute, there can be loss of lives of different people. So if you see they are not trying to comply with you, talk to higher management. Prevent unauthorized entry of personnel, initiate the alarm if needed, and evacuate the entrance if conditions are not satisfying, as I said before. So, in case of any general evacuation is initiated, contact rescue personnel if necessary. When you see there's any problem, or maybe there is a caving in, or there is electrocution, or like people who work in oil and gas sector, maybe they broke a pipe and H2S, hydrogen sulfide, is available, which can kill someone immediately. You have to call the emergency. You know, not just an emergency, you have to call the ambulance services. So they can, you send them your location, then you inform your supervisors, your managers, and so on and so forth. Okay. Then, when you are told to give example of a confined spaces starts from pipes, vessels, tank boilers, tube areas, silos, trenches, and excavations deeper than 4 feet. Sludge pits, ductwork, you know, duct, people who repair AC inside, yeah, that's a confined space as well. Name one hazardous job in a confined space. You see, welding, grinding, chemical cleaning, use of glass, cutting, erection of material. These are hazardous job in confined space. And who is a competent person? Because you would be, they treat people with these questions a lot. The interviewer will ask you, are you sure you are competent? Yeah. You tell them, yes, absolutely, I am competent. And they tell you, what do you mean by a competent person? How do you know you are competent? You say, I'm properly trained and I'm authorized to perform this specific kind of manner because I possess this kind of certificate and I've had this type of experience. I've worked here, I've worked there. These are the hazards I face. These are the consequences that follows the hazard. These are how I've been able to contribute to the work. You know, things like this. Then they ask you also, have you ever been in an accident? They always ask this also. Or have you ever seen an accident before? You say, yes, okay, what do you mean? What is an accident? An accident is an uncontrolled event that results in desirable consequence to personnel or assets, okay, or to the environment. You see, to personnel means injury or illness. Maybe the chemicals are making people sick, or they broke their hand when they fell, or they trip on something and broke their head. And assets means damage to, you know, like the entire factory. People in oil and gas industry are prone to that. If there's any little problem, there will be lots of damage. That is why they are very, very strict with their health and safety. And in terms of construction, damage to load property, maybe the design of the building is not very well, you know, structured. What is a near miss? Near miss is something that has the potential to cause harm, okay, and can result in undesirable consequence, either to the personnel or to the neighboring community or to the building or to the environment. Like an example of when a pipeline got busted and the oil had to flow to the neighboring town where it killed lots of marine life like fish, octopus, and so on and so forth. The water is not okay for people to drink anymore. Okay, all these kind of things are called damage to the environment. Or a chemical became broken and it turns airborne. That anybody who inhale it, boom, collapse, they are gone. All these things are called damage to the environment. But things that have the potential that, you know, when this pipe get burst, people who inhale it are going to die, and you quickly report it before it happened and it has been repaired. That is called a near miss. Okay? And thank you very much. These are the common types of questions that are always asked during the interview. Then they will ask you technical questions, mostly about the crane, which I already explained to you how loads are being lifted, and these are the load charts of how to lift the amount of load you want to lift, how far it should go, the meters, and how big the loads are. Then you'll be able to calculate the load radius and so on and so forth. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate all of you that has been watching. If you have any questions, kindly refer to our email that has been dropped down below. You can check all our previous videos as well for those of you that are writing the NEBOSH. And I wish you guys the best of luck in your exams. Kindly like, subscribe, share, download this video, send it to your family and friends, okay, for them to also benefit from the video. My name is Adeboye Sodiq once more. I'm also an health and safety practitioner, and I hope I see you guys soon. Have a lovely day ahead. Ciao.